Okay, hi everybody, it's Bonkai922. It's time for a crazy Maggie chapter review. Now, the other things that I might be doing, I was on this Teen Wolf kind of marathon going on. I already saw like 5 episodes of it. I will get to that we'll watch more. You might see a live stream this week of me by myself, I think, for now, because I don't want to. I might bring in some people, maybe, but that's down the road. Down the road, probably like Thursday or Wednesday or something like that. Maybe tonight, but we have to see. But anyway, Maggie chapter review time. This chapter 235. Okay, this explains a lot in this chapter. Now obviously Sheba's dead. Fuck Arba. I mean, this chapter was kind of interesting because we got kind of like a different side, because like, you know, certain individuals who joined Arba in this rebellion kind of thing with the darkness and everything, two of them, I believe it was what's his face and the wife who lost their son, they there was a quote unquote um him protecting her, and you feel for them. You feel for them, because I mean, Arba, no, I don't feel for her. She's a bitch. I'm sorry. She's a bitch because all she cares about is God. But those two actually, is a different scenario because they actually are doing it for a different cause. They were trying to, with their son dying and everything. So, but yeah, 235, the Return of Solomon. We see that Sheba is dead. Which really made me sad. I was like, that's fucked up. And then Lord Ugo has Aladdin in his hands. He's like an embryo. Um, Now, what I didn't understand was that I thought Solomon was completely gone, but he's not. So, from this chapter, though, what I can sort of surmise, if you will, is that Ugo is probably going to give the embryo, which it looks like it's pretty much just like an embryo, to Solomon. This is just what I think. And I think what's going to happen is rather of the two things. Solomon might merge. What might be the right word to use? Merge with Aladdin's embryo to, make him a little older with Ugo as helping. Because in this chapter, what happened was Solomon gave Ugo the task because he basically proclaimed him like the most powerful, magician. And, according to Solomon, and said to him to create the new world, another world. While they're fighting, Arba and her, rebellion. So Solomon comes back. He says he's going to fight for us, so on and so forth. And basically what they're trying to do is using Ilala, the god, trying to destroy everything back to nothingness. And we basically have King Solomon saying to everyone, and they're saying, yes, King Solomon, our world ended up like this because of my decision. I'm very sorry. I wonder if you would lend me the power to a king who guided you on a different path from the one he promised. And we see a lot of familiar faces among what seems to be the different species. And you actually see Alibaba's jinn, see some familiar other jinns that were, it was kind of weird when they showed those people who were with Solomon, the different species, because you got like a few people that kind of remind you the people who are in Sinbad's group. So there's kind of similarity going on. They look similar. So essentially, they join his cause. They join Solomon in fighting Arba, and I guess you call Altharman. And this was, kind of interesting. And you got some people who are saying that they will, for the future of our species, and now once again we will make thus life born with our own free will to protect our comrades, to protect the world, to protect the world, to protect the world. So it's all shining and wonderful, and they're all together, and they're all ready to go into this final battle against Arba, and then you got Arba saying, you will all disappear with this world, arrogant king and his servants. And my point of view, it's not Arba. Not Arba. Not Arba. I do not feel any sympathy for Arba. Zero. True shit. I do not stutter here. Zero sympathy. Zero. Absolute zero. It's simple case. You don't give a shit about anybody but your God. So, therefore, I don't give a shit about you. The people who followed Arba, though, I will give them a little slack because, you got to feel for the two who lost their... Well, it was the guy... It wasn't the husband, I don't think. It was Fallan? I believe it was Fallan. You feel for her because she lost her son, and you got the guy who lost his brother Tess. That was Tess. You feel for them. In this chapter. Now, we see, they're getting destroyed, the jinns, the dark jinns, and so on and so forth. And Arba saying won't go as that easily. And apparently the black jinns have almost disappeared. And apparently, they didn't really prepare. I found that very interesting. Altharman, they didn't really prepare here because they didn't have that much black rook to use against in this final battle. So basically, they end because of Solomon, and we see Fallan, I believe she says, so this is the end, and someone shows up to stop in her way. It's Wayed, and she's saying, "You're leaving me behind, Aru. That's right. I'm sorry, Fallan. I wouldn't be able to stand it if you died." And he says to Solomon, "I don't know what justice is anymore, but I will use the last embers of my life for the woman and the son I love. Yes, I will be able to reach for Test now." And then we see Ugo saying, "No, don't, Wayed." And pretty much everyone gets annihilated by Ilala that's coming down with the black shit. Just a massacre. That is the only way you could describe this scene. It's just an absolute massacre of black root coming at them. And then basically saying this world is done. Look, no, those who look refuge underground must be alive. We must protect them, so on and so forth. So what basically Ilala did was it took the origin of life, the rook, from almost all living beings on the surface of the earth. And that's when Solomon asked Ugo, "Don't forget, Ugo, you are the strongest magician. Create the world anew." So essentially, that is actually what happened. Because you see, I thought it wasn't Ugo that did it. It was Solomon. I thought Solomon created the new world. But it seems in this chapter, it was Ugo. Kind of interesting. I find that very intriguing. So, essentially, he says, those were the last words that Solomon said to me. And we basically have a standoff between Arba and Solomon. And she's like, "I hate you. You caused God to fall." I'm like, Arba, I have a question. Do you want to suck God's dick? Is that it? I'm sorry I said that, but apparently she has a very, very large heart-on for God. Like, what the fuck, man? Really. You killed Sheba because of God? Really? Why don't I precede you, since you like God so much, how I introduce you to Satan? Yeah, Satan. He's going to get a pitchfork and shove it in your ass. I'm sorry. She's like, yeah, saying that. And Solomon's basically saying that. And this is true. You know, take it or leave it. Don't trust everything to your God's voice. Code with your own desires. You'll never be able to move forward from that. And then Solomon's like, so you won't forgive me even in the end? And she's like, I will destroy the fake world you created, even if the only thing left of me is my conscience. So, the end of that scene when she says that, we basically have Solomon with the staff, kind of like, Gandalf, you shall not pass! And then we have Ugo saying Solomon, and it says, everything moves to the other side of the light. So, and you see a symbol on that page, which is probably going to be me doing I think I'm going to use that for the thumbnail. I think what that symbol is, and this is what I think transpires. I think in the next 2 to 3 chapters, you're going to find out what that room is. And people are probably wondering, what do you mean? Go back to the beginning of Magi, when you saw Aladdin in that room with Ugo. Okay, here's what's going to happen. I think that symbol might have significance to that room, to an extent. And Ugo is probably going to create the world, as Solomon's blocking that attack. He's going to try to create the world, creates the world, and what's going to happen is the jinns are going to go into that world. And it's just going to be her soul. I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to be Arba's soul, and it's going to go into, and then Ugo becomes a jinn, and I guess somehow they progress Aladdin's development as from embryo to an actual child, and it goes into that room with Ugo. But that's just a hunch. I'm just hunching it. But overall, for this chapter, I gotta give this a 5 out of 5. This was an awesome chapter. I have no sympathy, by the way, for Arba. Zero. I have sympathy for the people who lost people and enjoyed Al Tharman. But I have zero sympathy for Arba. Because Arba, in my opinion, loved nothing. The only thing she loved was God. That was it. She didn't love Sheba. She didn't love Solomon. I'm sorry, but that's the way I look at it. She's a bitch. She's a bitch. Yeah. I hate her for what she did to Sheba, and I hope Hakuryu does rip her fucking head off. So, hopefully that time will come. But anyway, that's pretty much the story. Bankai Night 22. Pretty good chapter of Magi. It was interesting to see that Solomon said that to Ugo. Maybe now for next week and the following weeks we'll get a full explanation on how the world was created, how all the different species were turned into jinns and this and that. It should be very interesting. Hopefully, Ota, the manga, can pull this off very nicely. So we'll see. Until then, Bankai Night 22, and I will check you guys later.